Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Canes on Deck. Seeing if Mr. Santana will be joining us. That's potential, but if not, it'll be me talking to camera, which I know everyone loves. Before we get into an exciting time for the Canes baseball program, as they appear to have turned a bit of a corner here. We're going to talk a little bit about our sponsor, U Break Wheel Fix. It's hard to do all this at once. U Break Wheel Fix is Miami's premier wheel repair and restoration company with over 20 years experience and located in North Miami. They offer quick repairs for damaged wheels, and in most cases, they can get turned around and have you back on the road the same day. If not, they will help you get a loaner while they repair your wheels. If your wheels are looking weathered, you don't need to buy new wheels. They can refinish them. They do in-house powder coating, machining, and polishing. They'll make it look new. So contact Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 and follow them on all socials at YouBreakWillFix. And if you mention 5 reasons, you'll get 5.5% off your next repair. That's YouBreakWillFix powder coating and wheel repair, 305-748-0112, located at 1848 Northeast 143rd Street in North Miami. All right, everyone. Exciting time to be a Hurricanes baseball fan. Let's recap what was it almost got off to a bad week. Midweek FAU on Tuesday, short turnaround. The Canes battled FAU, had the lead most of the way, blew it late, came back and won. Big time rally, Evan Taveras with a huge game-winning hit, and then that fed into the weekend where I will say, Griffin Hughes didn't have his best stuff on Friday, but Gamer just battled through it. Was able to kind of get into the middle part of the game, and the Canes bullpen was excellent. The Canes pitching all weekend was excellent, and they were able to see that game out. And then the weekend got progressively better. Saturday's game was even more lopsided again. Good start from Siskar, and then the bullpen held up. And then on Sunday, it was just a bloodbath. So wasn't competitive. It was over in the first inning, frankly. So unbelievable performance by the Canes. If you look at the projections now, a lot of them haven't come out yet. But yeah, the Canes went from dead in the water to, if the tournament started today, they'd be in it, and pretty comfortably. The RPI went really high. I believe it's in the 30s at this point. And so, yeah, the Canes are in position. Shout out to CCH, Danny Price. And Danny, good point. I would say this is the best week in 2 years. This is the best series the Canes have played since Gino DiMare was the coach, to be honest. This was a top 20, top 15 type team that, D1 Baseball projected as number 7 national seed last week. And the Canes, really, the first game was competitive. The last 2 were not. It was domination. It was a statement performance, like CCH is saying, we backed it up. But yeah, it's 9-9 now in conference. So and most of the tough series, they've played. So there's an opportunity to continue to boost the RPI. The more conference games you play, it should help a little bit. There's still a big tough series at UVA, NC State at home. NC State's a good team. So there's some tougher series that still left to play, but huge step forward last weekend. And it also seems like the bullpen's finally settling down. We know Walters is the closer. We know, that Carson Fisher is the one that they're looking to eat innings. We basically, discovered that he's going to use Mikey and Dorn as lefties out of the pen. And then Will Smith is another kind of big arm. And so that is kind of where those are his arms he's going to rely on. I think Jackson Cleveland's probably next in line there. He did pitch on Sunday, which was good to see. He pitched well. It's been a couple of performances in a row where he's pitched well. So I think he's probably next man up too. We're going to need something from him, down the stretch as well. But I think, he's short in the bullpen, and those are his guys. And if Lumpkin keeps pitching like he has been in the midweek, that helps a lot too, because they're not, emptying your staff in the midweek. Oh, and also Giroux is someone he's going to rely on too. So those are your arms. He's kind of solidified that. Getting good starts has helped, although none of the starters went really deep into these games. Didn't matter. The bullpen really held it together, and the hitting was there. Cuvée is back to Cuvéing, which was good to see. And when he goes, the Canes go. So that was big. Yeah, we have momentum, playing well. A couple of items to address. Injuries. So it looks like both Hudson and Williams are out with hand injuries. So that has opened up. Williams' injury opened up an opportunity for Mikey Torres, who is improving steadily at the plate and whose defense is beyond reproach. So I'd be surprised. It looks like neither of them are supposedly out for the season. We have seen is Hudson out for the year. Did that get announced? I didn't see a formal announcement on that. Usually we get the press release like we did with Nick Robert. Derek Williams actually played on Friday as a pinch runner. So that was interesting. But I do think when Williams comes back, I think we'll probably see him as DH because Marsh has been struggling. We actually had Taveras started DH on Sunday's game against a righty, which is something we hadn't done. So I think Williams is going to be, if he comes back, will be the DH because I don't think you can take Mikey out of the field at this point. He is saving runs left and right with his play, and again, his hitting is coming along to the point that he's not really a liability there anymore. So I would expect the outfield to stay the way it is. And Derek to be the DH if he's able to come back. That would be my guess right now. Because again, March is kind of struggling a little bit, and I think if we're going to play Taveras ahead of him, even against righties, then I don't see any way Derek wouldn't. But yeah, that's the one downside in terms of. I think that's the one downside. To what happened this last week is this couple of injuries certainly aren't great. Renzo got his RBI, man. He got his RBI, and he definitely has kind of stepped up there. He also was really good in the field. I thought overall we had a good fielding week. So that is there's a lot of positives to look forward to. I think the depth has taken a hit with some of his injuries. Obviously, if you had Nick Robert, Derek Williams, and Todd Hudson still in play here, you'd have just a lot more depth. But yeah, the Canes are playing well. The guys are stepping up, and that's big. Which leads us to this week. The one thing the Canes have not done a great job of is shout out to Evan, F1 show tomorrow. We can talk about Lando Norris. Doing the opposite of what the Canes did this weekend. Lando did put it right in the wall when he needed to, when he didn't need to. So there's that. But let's see. So coming up this week at FIU on Wednesday. That's obviously a local road game, and then at Boston College over the weekend. The Canes have not been good on the road this year. They did win the last road series against Pitt. But these are opportunities to capitalize on that and hopefully get some wins. So I guess we'll save this for tomorrow, Evan. I am not happy with the young Mr. Norris there, or not that young. Piastri's younger. Okay, so let's look ahead to this week. And I guess let's look ahead to where I'm going to get the standings open. We're going to take a look there as well, so we can take a look at what the Canes are doing standings wise in terms of the ACC. A lot of movement. One of the things we hadn't really talked a lot about, but earlier in the year, but the Canes did already. The schedule is different than it has been in the past. In the past. It would be, you'd kind of play your ACC games and have that last, out of conference series. But because of the conference expansion, that doesn't happen anymore. It kind of happens out of sequence. So the Canes have played less ACC games than some of the other teams, which you're going to see because they still have that series, which for the Canes, unfortunately, was Connecticut. So these are the standings, and you can see, you don't have to scroll as far anymore. 9-9, a game back at Louisville. Again, Duke has played more games. Louisville has played more games. I know Louisville's played the same amount of games, but you see, like, Duke has played more games. Obviously, the Canes beat them, but they're 3 games back. They got. I see what you're saying, CCH. I don't think it's 50% because they're not going to have 10 ACC hosts, so they got to leap some of these teams. And as much as sweeping Georgia Tech was huge, this is where that playing less games comes into play. You see, Georgia Tech has won 5 more ACC games, so there's just a lot of work to be done there. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that that the Canes host, but it's a long shot. They got to do a lot of winning here, and sweeps are great, and they got probably gonna need 1 or 2 more at least, and obviously can't lose enough. Need to win all these here, right? If they beat NC State, and they beat and the Canes beat NC State, and they win at Virginia. If they win those 2, then that moves things a little bit more forward, and then. But again, this isn't even the top of the standings because FSU is on top. So if I scroll up, you're going to see ostensibly these 7 teams would host in front of the Canes. It's a lot to overcome. Don't play Louisville. Lost to Carolina. Right, lost to FSU. So they beat Duke, swept Georgia Tech. So if they can, it's a long path to get to hosting. But a week ago they felt dead in the water from making the postseason. So big step forward. Again, I have an extra series, which unfortunately, when you're comparing to teams like Georgia Tech, yes, they swept Georgia Tech. So I think if it's even close, the Canes will get the nod there. The challenge is Georgia Tech is that extra series. They won those games, so when they're sitting there at 14-7 in conference, that's a long way. It's only 2 back in the loss column. It's 5 in the win column. So the Canes just got to keep winning. Probably need sweeps. If we scroll down, we'll see again. They're playing Virginia still, who's same record, right? And then, as you mentioned, NC State's a tough one. Those are your 2 toughest series. The NC State obviously being at home, but then you've got these series, right? Still play Notre Dame, and still play Boston College. Like those are you've got to win those series, right? If you and frankly might need to sweep them. If you do that and you add 6 wins to this total, so you're now 15-9, then you could start talking about, okay, winning one of those other series might be enough. But right now, I think this is things are fluid, which we learned this week, right? It can swing back the other way. You drop a road series this weekend you lose a midweek to FIU, drop a road series to BC. The next thing, if you go 1-3 this week, you're probably back out of the tournament again. So everything is very fluid. But yeah, the Canes played themselves in this week, and now they got to keep doing that because they spent a large part of the beginning of the season playing their way out. And so it's a lot of season left, and especially against the Canes have played less games, so they have a lot more ACC games left to tackle here, which we're going to look at the remaining schedule now in a second, and we'll kind of walk through that. I will say the one thing that is less happening. Yeah, I agree with Danny. I think 3-1 at minimum, probably 4-0. Like if you're talking host, I think it's got to be 4-0. If you want to say like continue that momentum, 3-1 is definitely a successful week, regardless of which game the one is. But yeah, you can't go 2-2 this week. That means you either lost another midweek or you lost a weekend series in the ACC, which will put you back below 500 in the ACC and give you another hill to climb. Which the Canes, we knew that their schedule was front loaded, so they did not win enough games at the beginning of the season. So now they got it. That's what killed the margin for error. It's not end of the world stuff because again, when you're losing like at North Carolina and you're losing at Wake Forest and you're losing to Florida State, that's not going to ruin your season. But those were opportunities where if you win one of those series, you don't get swept by Wake. If you do that, you have a much better opportunity to host. And I think that's where now there's no margin for error. I will say, because they swept last week, before I was saying you got to win every series, I think they could potentially drop one, especially if it's like at UVA or to NC State at home, and still get in. I think losing a bad series, which BC would be, is going to make it much more difficult. They'll probably need more sweeps. But anyway, this is your remaining schedule. So as we mentioned this week, at FIU on Wednesday, then at BC over the weekend. That's 4:00. Friday, noon Saturday, noon Sunday. And then next weekend they host NC State. Again, the CCH said if you're gonna host, you got to win that series, maybe even sweep it. And then FIU on the midweek on the 7th at UVA. The following weekend, and then the final season Notre Dame. So there's actually only a final series of the season Notre Dame. So there's actually only a couple more midweeks. It's the 2 FIU games. Everything else is ACC games, which is another 12 games, so 14 to play. They have done a lot of digging out of a big hole in the last 6-game winning streak, but not just 6-game winning streak. I believe it's 8 out of 10. So yeah, 6-game winning streak and then 8 out of 10. Huge digging out of that hole. Started with the Pitt game on Sunday, which was the rubber match, which you lose that, the season's basically over. And then, have responded since then. And even after that Duke game, the Friday, just the implosion to come back and kind of win that. It's 14 games remain. And yes, sitting right now at 24-17, 9-9 in conference. Again, 12 of those 14 are conference games. They're in position. They're in position to make the tournament now. Again, there are weaknesses, right? The Connecticut home series is a bad loss, and the road record isn't good. So, there's some gaps to plug on the schedule, but the RPI keeps going up. Again, it started like last week. We were kind of like, really got to make a move here. This week, it's now turned all the way around into the tournament started right now. Canes would be in. So it's really things have gotten interesting here in Coral Gables with that winning streak. So I guess the question now is, can they continue to do this? We said all along that the Canes were a better team than their record showed, and I think it's starting to kind of to catch up with that. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to pull up the RPI now just so you have a sense of, where that is. So you see the Canes are in there at 36th. You can see the last week went up 27 spots. And you're starting to see these other metrics are going to continue to catch up. So, the quad 4 and the quad 3 losses aren't great, but winning that series, they got three of the quad 1 wins were this week. So you can see kind of some of the teams that they're competing with in the ACC. I mean, they say they don't look at conference like in pecking, but they do. Like, let's be real, they're not going to put all the hosts from one conference. So that applies to the SEC as well. If you look at the RPI, so the top 6 are from the SEC, and then you start getting the ACC teams too. So the Canes already played Carolina, Florida State, and Florida, and obviously lost those series. Beat Georgia Tech, lost to Wake. So that's why these upcoming series. NC State, that's a big one, as CCH mentioned. Duke was a big series win. Notre Dame's RPI is actually good, even though they're not. So that's an opportunity to notch some resume boosters. Connecticut has gotten better than they were earlier in the year, so that's helping a little bit. Again, Boston College. So there's some opportunities, really, especially when you go on the road, to boost the RPI here. But they got to take care of business. If they get fat and happy, like they're in this weird swing here, because you can see these. You can see. Pitt sitting here, right? Boston College is sitting here. There's not that much. You got Notre Dame sitting just above the Canes. Like, there's not that much of a gap. between where they are and the teams that are going to miss the tournament. There's not that much of a gap between where they are and the teams they're going to host. So they're very unlikely to just stay in this position, which is why you gotta keep winning. Gotta keep winning. So yeah, next game is Wednesday at FIU, so in Miami. But road game. And yeah, Lumpkin will obviously get the start. He needs to continue to pitch well. The last time he started against FIU did not go well. So if he can do that, they can get that midweek, get it to 25-17. Now 8 games over 500, and then hopefully at least get 2 after this weekend. That's how. That is that's again, just keep knocking these series out. Now at this point, like earlier, again a week or two ago, actually after the before the Pitt series said they got to win every series and they'll make the tournament. I think the sweep this weekend, the nature of the wins, I think if they win every series, there's a good chance they host. They might need one sweep in there, but if you think about, there's 4 ACC series left. If they finish 4 games over 500, because that's what it would be if they won every series 2-1. In that, if they take care of the 2 midweeks, so they're now another 10 games over 500. They finish 34. They finish 17 games over 500 now. That's host stuff. So, the Canes are right there now, but could easily fall out of everything as well. So nothing is given. Got to earn it. But yeah, already 7 games over 500. If they can, go 10 and the 4-tier main games, as Danny said, they can go 10-4. That might do it. So we shall see. Yeah, there's not actually. Not only are there only 14 games left, there's not that many. 2 of those series are on the road, so only 8 games left at the Light this year. And unless the Canes host, which again is a long shot, but not out of the realm of possibilities if the Canes keep winning. And of course, there's the ACC tournaments. That's another opportunity to potentially pick up some quality wins and hopefully get over the hump there. So yeah, they are looking like a regional team, which was unthinkable just 3 weeks ago. So let's see if they can keep it going. They have to keep it going, otherwise they won't be a regional team because they're kind of right on the edge. They wouldn't be the funny thing is they wouldn't be a bubble team today, but if you don't win the weekend series this weekend, they're probably out. I mean, that's how these things are shifting. Just like last weekend, they weren't really even in the bubble. But anyway, we'll still be here covering it. Jazz should be back next week, hopefully. And yeah, we'll continue to cover this team and hopefully a journey all the way to Omaha. We can dream big now. The team is playing really good baseball. They're hitting well, much better at bats. They're playing better in the field. Their confidence is there. The pitching is going well. So this team is feels like they've turned a corner. We'll see if they can keep it going. Again, we'll be back next week. Same time and place. Thanks for joining us for Canes on Deck. Again, just to recap, the upcoming schedule is FIU on Wednesday, 6 p.m. in Miami. So if you're local, you can get out there and buy a ticket. It won't be. Don't go to the Light because there won't be a game there. But go to FIU, and you can watch the game there. And then Boston College on the weekend, 4 p.m. Friday, 12 p.m. Saturday, 12 p.m. Sunday. The Canes up in Boston. The Sunday game, I believe, is the Fenway one. I think so. They all say Chestnut Hill, but I think Sunday's in Fenway. So that'll be an experience for the kids as well. Hopefully they can come out of that weekend with a W. We'll be back next week, hopefully with Jazz in tow. Thanks everyone for sticking with me. I know Top to Camera, not the greatest show, but had to cover the boys after they dominated Georgia Tech over the weekend and head to Boston College. Good luck on the road at FIU and in Boston College this weekend. We'll be back next weekend to hopefully recap another series wins. The Canes go to try and extend their win streak, which is currently at 6 games and 3 AC series in a row. If they can make it 4, that'll just continue that march towards the postseason. Anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about that. Till then, thanks for joining us, and go Canes.